The forest went quiet first. Not the normal kind of quiet, no crickets easing off, no wind settling down, but the kind of silence that feels deliberate. Like something had pressed pause on the night itself.
All the things in the forest that make noise, like the crickets, the tree frogs, they were so loud that just a few minutes earlier we could barely hear one another across this campfire. And I've since had other people tell me that they've had similar experiences where things go quiet.
Moments earlier, Terry and Toby had been laughing beside a small campfire, beer bottles sweating in their hands, the stars sharp above Devil's Den State Park.
So my incident happened in 1977. My big incident. Like a lot of people, I've had, ongoing odd things and encounters all of my life since childhood.
June 1977. 4 days off duty. 6 hours away from Whiteman Air Force Base near Kansas City, Missouri. Just 2 Air Force medics trying to forget the world and lose themselves in the sky. Then Toby stiffened. "Did you hear that?" he asked. Terry frowned, listening hard. "I don't hear anything." Exactly. The realization hit them at the same time. The forest wasn't settling. It was empty. No birds, no insects, no breeze brushing the leaves. It felt as if time itself had stopped moving, as if the woods were holding their breath. That's when Toby looked up. 3 faint lights hung in the sky, barely noticeable at first, like distant stars that didn't belong. But they were growing brighter, closer. The lights moved together in perfect formation, then rotated around an invisible axis before accelerating in a way that made no sense. As they crossed the sky, entire sections of stars vanished behind them. There was no way to judge how fast it was moving. No frame of reference. Nothing like it belonged in the air. Trying to keep things light, Terry laughed and said, "I think that damn thing's headed straight for us. Looks like it's gonna sail right over our camp." It didn't sail over them. It stopped. The lights now formed the corners of a massive, triangular craft hovering directly above their campsite. So close it felt impossible. A few hundred yards 1 second, then suddenly, there. The thing was enormous, easily the size of a city block, and it emitted a deep, steady hum that seemed to vibrate through their chests. Strangely, fear never came. Instead, something else washed over them. A heavy calm. Not relief, something closer to sedation. Terry would later struggle to describe it, only knowing that while the craft hovered above them, he felt completely at ease, peaceful, as if panic had been switched off. The calm remained as the craft slowly descended. A beam of pure white light burst from beneath it, flooding the campsite for nearly 30 seconds. Brighter than daylight. Every shadow erased. Then, darkness. A thin blue laser followed, sweeping methodically across the camp, over the tent, over the fire pit, over the men themselves, back and forth, precise and deliberate. Minutes passed, then darkness again. Finally, Toby broke the silence. "Well," he said, "show's over." And just like that, the 2 men returned to their tent and went to sleep. In hindsight, that should have been the first red flag. A massive craft hovering a few yards above their tent. A humming vibration in the air. Light powerful enough to turn night into day. And, yet, after it all stopped, Terry and Toby simply lay down and fell asleep. No fear, no questions, no urgency. It made no sense, but whatever that craft had done to them hadn't ended when the lights went out. The calm hadn't faded. It had guided them, held them there, wrapped around their thoughts until exhaustion felt natural, inevitable. Later, people would joke about it. Maybe some kind of tranquilizer, maybe a gas, something to take the edge off. But it wasn't chemical. It was psychological. The craft didn't knock them out, it switched them off. And once the stimulation ended, sleep came instantly. Despite the deep mechanical hum still vibrating through the ground, both men lost consciousness almost immediately. Terry didn't stay asleep for long. When he woke up, the first thing he noticed was the cold. Not night air, not forest ground. Something artificial, smooth, rubbery, unforgiving. His back pressed flat against it. His chest felt heavy. He looked down. He was naked. His clothes had been folded neatly and placed on his chest, as if by someone trying to be polite. Then the panic hit. Terry tried to move. Nothing happened. His body was completely paralyzed. His mind, however, was wide awake, racing, screaming, trapped inside flesh that refused to respond. He couldn't turn his head, couldn't lift a finger. All he could do was stare and listen. Somewhere nearby, a woman screamed. Pure terror. The sound cut through him, and in that moment, Terry understood something terrible. Whatever was happening to her could happen to him next. As his eyes adjusted, the scale of the room became clear. It was enormous, vast, the size of a stadium. That didn't make sense. The craft above their campsite had been huge, but not this huge. Not big enough to contain a space like this, unless, somehow, it was bigger on the inside. To his right, at least 10 other people lay exactly as he did, naked, paralyzed, awake. Men, women, children. Some of them darted their eyes wildly, silently screaming. Others stared straight up, hollow and resigned, blinking back tears that never fell. No one spoke. No one could. On the left side of the room, a row of disc-shaped craft stood suspended in the air, ready, waiting. The chamber stretched upward at least 5 stories high. Smaller floating vehicles, no larger than golf carts, moved effortlessly through the space, carrying children away to different sections of the craft. That's when Terry saw them. At first, he thought they were children. They weren't. They were small beings with gray, chalky skin and oversized black eyes. They wore identical gray suits that fit them like flight uniforms. Their arms were long, their fingers thin and precise, and they moved with a quick, mechanical efficiency. No wasted motion. No hesitation. Then something else passed through his line of sight. Not a thing. A person. Human. Men and women in beige uniforms with orange rank insignias walked calmly through the room. They didn't look frightened. They didn't look confused. They didn't even look curious. They ignored the naked captives completely, moving with purpose, as if this were just another routine shift. They weren't prisoners. They were crew. That realization hit Terry harder than the paralysis. Then one of the beings stopped. This one was different. Its skin was a pale, pinkish beige, not gray. It resembled the others but stood taller, nearly 6 feet. As it passed Terry, it turned its head and locked eyes with him. Instantly, Terry felt it. Invasion. The creature was inside his mind, pulling memories, thoughts, fragments of his life. No words, no images exchanged, just extraction, stripping him bare in a way far worse than physical exposure. He felt violated, completely seen, helpless. Before he could process what was happening, the room shifted around him. Several gray beings lifted Terry with ease and began carrying him down a long hallway. He floated past glass tanks lining the walls. Most were empty. Some were not. Inside them were creatures of varying shapes and sizes, some vaguely familiar, others unmistakably alien. And Terry realized, with a sinking certainty, that wherever he was being taken next, this was only the beginning. Terry woke up in a hospital bed. White walls, fluorescent lights, the steady beep of medical equipment. For a moment, he wondered if everything before it, the craft, the room, the beings, had been some kind of nightmare. Then the door opened. A nurse stepped in first, clipboard in hand. She barely spoke before two men followed her inside. They flashed badges as they entered, their movements sharp and practiced. Dark suits, darker expressions. They said they were with OSI, the Air Force Office of Special Investigations. They needed to speak with Terry. Alone. The nurse hesitated, then left. The door clicked shut behind her. Terry slowly sat up in bed. A tape recorder was placed on the tray in front of him. His head was still spinning. He was only 22 years old, and he had just lived through the most terrifying experience of his life. Now, two OSI agents stood over him like interrogators, not caretakers. One of them, a major, took control immediately. His voice was sharp, impatient. He demanded to know exactly what Terry had seen that night at Devil's Den. Terry told them about the lights in the sky. And then he stopped. As he spoke, an unsettling feeling crept over him. The major didn't look surprised. Neither agent did. It felt less like questioning and more like confirmation, like they already knew the rest. That thought chilled him. Was the Air Force involved? An image flashed through his mind without warning. Humans in military uniforms moving calmly alongside alien beings inside the craft. They knew. The government knew. Do you understand? Sergeant? The major's voice snapped him back to the room. Terry nodded slowly as the man read from a small card in his hand. Article 31 of the UCMJ. The military's version of you have the right to remain silent. Terry answered every prompt the same way. Yes, sir. He knew enough to know this was dangerous territory. Anything that starts with you have the right to remain silent should end with a lawyer. But no lawyer was offered. Instead, he was pressured, cornered, into signing a waiver allowing OSI to search his home and his car. Not that it mattered. The searches were already happening. One of the agents suddenly lost his temper. He stepped close, too close, his face inches from Terry's. He accused him of lying, said they knew Terry and his friend Toby had seen more than lights, demanded he admit it. Terry didn't. There was no way he was going to talk about the abduction. Before, he'd been afraid they'd lock him in a psychiatric ward. Now, he was afraid they'd throw him in jail. So he held the line. Lights in the sky. Nothing more. And he prayed, silently, that Toby was doing the same. Finally, the agents gave up. They shut off the tape recorder, grabbed it roughly, and tossed a business card onto the bed. Terry was forced to sign more documents, quickly, without reading them. Orders followed. Never speak about the incident. Never speak about the lights. If he remembered anything else, he was to contact OSI immediately. Then came the final command. Terry was never to contact Toby again. For any reason. Ever. Not long after, Toby was transferred to a base in Japan. They never spoke again. After that, Terry did exactly what they wanted. He stayed quiet. The abduction, the interrogation, the threats, he buried all of it. He told no one. Not his friends, not his family, not even his wife. He convinced himself that the best way to survive was to pretend Devil's Den had never happened. And, for a while, it worked. The sharpness of the memories dulled with time. Some details faded completely. But the trauma didn't disappear. It settled deeper. PTSD lingered in the background, shaping his life in ways he didn't fully understand. Still, Terry moved forward. He built a successful career, eventually becoming a lawyer and then an assistant attorney general. He got married, had a family. From the outside, his life looked stable. Normal, uneventful, exactly what you'd expect from a man who never talked about what happened in the woods. Then, in 2012, everything broke open again. An X-ray of Terry's leg revealed something that shouldn't have been there. An implant. Physical evidence. Not a memory, not a dream. Real. Terry decided to have it removed. And this time, he decided he wasn't going to stay silent. He planned to go public. People warned him that doing so would be dangerous. The obvious assumption was government retaliation. But the threat didn't come from the government. It came from something else. Terry Lovelace's decision to speak openly about the implant, backed by X-rays, gave his story credibility. It also made him visible, and that attention came at a cost. In 2017, Terry fell asleep in his home like any other night. Then, suddenly, he wasn't in bed anymore. He was sitting upright in his living room. Across from him sat a woman no taller than 4 feet. She had light brown hair and, at first glance, looked like a small Asian woman. But almost immediately, something felt wrong. The hair wasn't real. It was a wig. And she wasn't human. A memory surfaced, one he hadn't taken seriously at the time. Years earlier, Terry's wife had woken up in the middle of the night to see a small figure with large eyes standing at the foot of their bed. A calm voice had entered her mind and said, "Do not be afraid. Go to sleep." She had dismissed it as a dream. It wasn't. Now that same figure sat in Terry's living room. He recognized her instantly. She wasn't fully alien, and she wasn't fully human. Something in between. And his first, oddly specific thought was that he didn't like the wig. Her lips never moved, but her voice filled his mind. "So, you don't like my hair? It's the same as the last time we met. I always wear it this way. You know that." And just like that, the dam broke. Memories flooded back, violent, overwhelming, undeniable. This wasn't the first time Terry had encountered her. He hadn't just been abducted once. He'd been taken many times since he was 8 years old. He remembered being aboard a craft with other children in a room that looked disturbingly like a daycare. They were given simple tasks, arranging colored blocks and tiles. Terry never understood why. Other times, they were handed small objects, cubes, spheres, and instructed to move them using only their minds. Tests, training, experiments, and throughout all of it, she was there, watching the children, supervising, guiding, not hostile, not warm, just present, like a caretaker, like an au pair. Yeah, the alien lady was the au pair. The memories didn't come back gently. Terry remembered that the children weren't always treated kindly. Alongside the games and tests were painful medical procedures. Just like at Devil's Den, they were paralyzed, forced to watch as small gray beings worked methodically around them. And every time, she was there. The woman. Her role became clear over time. She wasn't one of the technicians. She didn't perform the procedures. Her job was to keep the children calm while it happened. Somehow, despite everything, Terry felt affection toward her. She acknowledged it. "Yes, Terry, I'm that woman. You won't be taken tonight. No more examinations. I promise." With her help, more memories surfaced. He remembered being aboard a spacecraft on the far side of the moon. He saw a vast city, sprawling, industrial, where humans lived and worked. They were mining something, processing lunar rock. She confirmed it. Humans had been living there for generations. Many had never been to Earth. Their work was important. But she hadn't come to reminisce. She had come to warn him. Terry's decision to speak publicly, and his upcoming book, had alarmed her hosts. They worked with the U.S. government. and they were concerned he didn't understand what he was revealing. "You've seen things important to both your government and my hosts," she told him. "You cannot know which memories must remain secret. Your government will not allow you to speak." There would be consequences. When Terry asked about the implants, she shut him down. She wasn't there to explain, only to stop him. "The devices support your claims. Once disclosed, your government will not allow it." She said she wouldn't erase his memories, it would cause him too much harm. But the implants in his leg? Those would be removed. Terry insisted the world deserved the truth. Her response was immediate. "First, they will discredit you. Then they will threaten you. If you continue, your government will kill you." And then sunrise. She was gone. Later, Terry had his leg x-rayed again. The implants were gone. No incision, no scar. Just 2 tiny wires left behind, like remnants. For 40 years, he had unknowingly carried physical proof of his abduction. Just as he prepared to show the world, the evidence vanished. And that was the point. Alien abductions don't scar the body. They scar the mind. Most abductees never remember anything at all. Terry believes those people are the lucky ones. There's something else worth paying attention to. In March 2023, a metallic object was caught on camera from an airplane window. At first glance, it looked like just another UFO clip destined to be argued to death online. But when you slow it down, when you really look, something familiar appears. A pattern. Many close-range UFO videos share a strange visual consistency. The surface doesn't look like polished metal or conventional aircraft skin. Instead, it appears symbiotic, almost organic. Silver and black, shifting subtly with the light, as if the material itself is alive or adaptive. That detail matters. One commenter pointed out that the video was filmed from a glider and claimed it was recorded backward, that the object might simply be debris or bubble gum stuck to the windshield, carried forward by strong winds. A clever explanation, possibly even a correct one, but it doesn't explain everything. Even skeptics noticed something odd about the object's structure. Strange markings, almost like hieroglyphs. An unusual silhouette, a shape that didn't resolve cleanly into any known aircraft design. One viewer described it as a silver bird perched atop something else. Another suggested advanced black project technology. Others went further. A former Air Force serviceman weighed in with a blunt assessment. "No aircraft or flying machine we currently know can move or behave like that at that speed." That's the part that keeps coming up. Not just what these objects look like, but how they move. The acceleration, the lack of visible propulsion, the way they seem unconcerned with aerodynamics as we understand them. You can call it CGI. You can call it debris. You can call it misidentification. But when the same visual traits keep appearing across different cameras, different years, different witnesses, it stops being about a single video. It becomes about pattern recognition. And patterns are where stories like Terry Lovelace's stop sounding isolated and start sounding connected. Thank you. Thank you so much for hanging out today.